Hi, Minnie.
Hi there.
Great episode. I
Thank
really
you.
loved it. Were you familiar with the series before you were asked to do the role?
I was, yeah. I've always loved the column in the New York Times, and I'd actually recorded for the podcast before. I'd voiced one of the stories. So yeah, I knew it pretty intimately.
So the episode that you star in is really emotional. What was it about the script when you first read it that really touched you?
I think that there's a huge spectrum of emotion involved in the episode, which is what I loved, of the way in which one hides one's grief, of how we explore it, how it is such singular secret behavior and it's hard to share that pain and loss, particularly when the outside of your life has moved on. How grief in a way calcifies and stays inside you, but how grief also has to evolve. And I loved how painful and difficult that was, but ultimately how sweet and tender um, it was too. And that was such an interesting thing to explore, particularly for someone, who's a doctor, who's a very practical, together person, to go into that very organized world and see where it was where it was sad and beautiful and lonely, and grief stricken.
You've played so many characters with so many different accents and done them so perfectly. How difficult is an Irish accent? Because most people, if they're just doing it for fun, they end up sounding like a leprechaun, but you did it amazingly. How difficult is it, and
Um,
what's the most difficult accent to do?
well, I think all accents are difficult to do well, but they're like music. They're very like music for me. Like I learn them like a song, and they kind of they inhabit the same part of my brain as when I write music or play music. Um, but like anything, you have to practice them to make them good. And I really enjoy it. I really enjoy there's a mimicry of the sound and then really understanding cadence on top of that. It's almost like learning a language. I love it. Their accents are, I find a standard American accent pretty hard, actually. That's the one I find the most difficult because it's far more nasal. The minute you start doing an American, your voice goes here, and you actually have to keep remembering to kind of. It's much. I find that very difficult, actually.
That's interesting. Tell me
Yeah,
about the car, because I know car fanatics will be drooling over that when they see this episode. Uh,
yeah. Those
are you a
stags are
car person?
beautiful. I am a car person. Yeah, that stag is a thing of beauty, and like a lot of e- every single every single car is idiosyncratic, but particularly those old cars. Has a very sticky gearbox. Really likes is really comfortable going fast. Does not like to be in first and second, but drove like a dream. I mean, I love driving stick as well. Like I much prefer to drive stick shift than automatic. If you're really gonna go for a drive and not just cruise around between appointments, I'd rather drive a car with stick shift.
And finally, can I ask what's next for you? Have you finished work on Cinderella?
Yep. Cinderella's coming out in September. I'm doing a podcast for iHeart called Mini Questions, which is I ask the same 7 questions to a variety of extraordinary people, from Tony Blair to Nick Jonas. And I'm starting work on a movie in Prague in September.
That all sounds amazing. I
Yeah.
where can we hear that podcast?
You can hear it wherever you listen to your podcasts, on the iHeartRadio app, but on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen.
Okay, I'll be watching for that or listening for it actually. Thank
Great.
you so much for chatting with me today. Fantastic series. Enjoyed it
Thank you
very
so
much.
much. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, or if you're returning and haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so now and click the like button underneath the video. Tap the notification bell if you want to make sure not to miss out on any new celebrity interviews.